I didn't need to see that again. Hello and welcome into First Take, everybody. Thank you for being with us. Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith, Molly Karam here, gentlemen.
Hey, we're objective on this show about what we see. We have to take our fandom
Skip.
and put it in the background on this show. Right?
Really?
Yeah, really?
You? You?
Me.
By the way, Pocket Square. I like
thank you. I
like that.
that.
Way to go.
I like yours a lot.
Ernestine?
She helped a little bit,
okay, all right.
but I did it.
I got you. I got you.
Yeah.
Hey, you.
Hey, how we doing?
I'm doing a lot better than you this morning. Oh, yeah, I saw what happened with your Giants.
All right.
Miss Connecticut.
All right, let's get into it.
That's right.
It was ugly in prime time. The Giants and Eagles combined for 7 turnovers and 21 penalties. The G-men came out strong. I was hopeful. Odell Beckham scoring on their opening drive, and after that, we know what happened. It just went downhill for New York, allowing 27 unanswered points. Philly wins by 20. You guys both picked the Eagles in this one. You were right. Stephen A., what was your biggest takeaway, though, from this game?
Well, my biggest takeaway was, number one, Chip Kelly clearly is listening to some folks making the necessary adjustments. Obviously, DeMarco Murray got a little bit loose, so we got to give credit where credit is due in that regard. Had 109 yards rushing on 22 carries. We appreciate him showing up for the first time this season. In the case of the Eagles' defense, that's what I really peel from this, their ability to really stifle an offense. Odell Beckham Jr. did play. Ruben Randle was on the field. Victor Cruz was not. We understand that. But at the end of the day, the Giants had enough requisite weapons to put up more than 7 points, but they didn't do so. So as a result of that, I'm looking at an Eagles defense, which people have been saying is playing better than they were last year. And so when you look at the improvement from that standpoint, I think the thing that you peel from it is that this is still a relevant team that you have to pay attention to, because at any given moment, their offense can explode and make some noise, and their defense is looking better than respectable at this particular moment in time. That's what I took from it more so than anything else, because even though I expected the Giants to lose, I did not expect them to be limited to 7 points, especially with Odell Beckham Jr. on the field, catching a touchdown pass to open the game. I didn't expect them to not score another point the rest of the evening. The fact that that did happen speaks to me about an Eagles defense that deserves our respect, at least momentarily, and one we need to pay attention to moving forward.
My takeaway was far different than your takeaway, but I'm coming from a very different place than you're coming from.
Yep.
I cannot express to you the shock that I took away from this game following your Giants' opening drive. The opening drive was tour de force. It was great Eli at his greatest. It was everything that John Gruden had raved about building up the kickoff to that game. Eli Manning has been superb so far this year and was superb in that opening drive. Bing, boom, right down the field. He looked unstoppable. Their whole offense looked unstoppable. And when they scored, and it's 7-0, I am thinking, obviously as a Cowboy fan, it's looking over, man. The New York Football Giants are about to separate themselves from the pack in the NFC East, and they might build such a lead that it's going to be over before it's even over. Like at midseason, they're just going to be so far ahead that we won't even have any reason to be talking about it on the show anymore. Then it's 3 and out for the Eagles, and the Giants have the ball back, and they're doing it again. And I'm giving your thoughts away here, but after a while, you couldn't watch it anymore,
I couldn't watch it anymore.
Okay,
I couldn't watch your tweets either.
Well, I was to the point where I couldn't watch it anymore for the opposite reason, where I'm saying, I don't want to watch Eli Manning be great Eli all night long. I can't take this anymore. I'm just going to turn this off, or I'm going to do something else. I'm going to watch the baseball game, if that's legal. Well, yeah, it is legal. So my point is, all of a sudden, D'Amico Ryans makes a play that I don't know how he took the ball away from Donnell. He just took the ball away from him because it was a good throw from Eli. It was on target. This is the game changer now. He just reaches in and rips the ball out. And everything from that point goes south for the New York Football Giants. And right on cue, finally, great Eli turned back into bad Eli. The guy who has led this league, the National Football League, in interceptions, not once or twice, but 3 times, and he looked like that guy again. He throws the flat pass interception. Carroll takes it back for 6, and all of a sudden, it is madness how the Giants were trying to outdo themselves to self-destruct in the game with penalties and obviously roughing the passer, running into the kicker. I could go on and on. Everything that could go wrong kept going wrong. That's not the Giants I'd seen all the way up to that moment. So how can you start a game so great and crumble so quickly and so thoroughly across the board? But here's the flip side of the coin. I was almost less impressed with the Eagles than I was with your Giants. If possible, the Eagles finally managed to lose the game a little less than the Giants lost the game. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because that's really what happened. Listen, every time, because I told you guys yesterday, this hard overhead, I was rooting for the Eagles to bring the Giants back to the pack, okay? And they did that. They accomplished it, so now they're both 3-3. But every time it looked like the Eagles were in control, Sam Bradford turned into Sam Badford. Am I right? Yes. Sam Badford?
He was awful.
He was awful. He was awful.
It was an awful game.
It was an awful game, but even his first touchdown pass to Riley Cooper, I was thrust in a position to have to root for Riley Cooper, but the first touchdown pass was a terrible underthrow. Two Giants had a shot at it, and Riley Cooper stopped at the goal line and caught it. I don't know how he caught it because it didn't deserve to be caught. And then every time it looked like, oh, this is going to be a wipeout, Sam Badford would throw it to the other team again, and they would be inconceivable.
Repeat that.
Yeah.
What's his name against
Badford. Well, I finally gave up. He's my former OU quarterback, but he's so bad now that he's got to be Badford, right?
Sam Badford.
Okay,
Let's make sure we highlight that.
Okay.
You lost me there for a second. I was like, did he say Badford?
Sam Badford. No. So he throws 3 interceptions to Eli's 2, but the Giants also lose a couple of fumbles. So is that what it was? 4-3 in the turnover battle? Yeah, it was. No, the Eagles lost the turnover. I'm sorry. The Eagles had 4 turnovers to 3, and they won the game, and they actually won it on the scoreboard pretty convincingly, and I wasn't convinced. That's my takeaway. I agree with you about the defense. That's the defense we saw through those preseason games. They looked hellacious good, and I kept bringing it up week after week. I'd sit here and say, boy, the Eagles' defense looks legit now. But they haven't looked legit consistently this year, and I'm not trusting they're always going to look legit because they've had breakdown moments where they got torched. We've seen them. They lost at home to the Cowboys as Brandon Weeden closed the game.
Right.
Okay? So my takeaway is that both teams looked incredibly beatable to me. Both teams look flawed to me. Neither team looked like it was quite ready to take over the NFC East. I know it's still early, but how could you be impressed with an eyesore of a football game played by 2
You can't
NFC
be
East?
impressed with it because you've seen moments where the Eagles, for example, they came back in the second half against the Atlanta Falcons. They exploded in the first half against the New York Jets. You've seen increments where their offense shows some life. Their defense is displaying a level of consistency. Once D'Amico Ryans went down last night in the second quarter, you're talking about them being down three linebackers, okay? But the defense still looked the way that it did. This kid Hicks, who's a rookie, who's filling in.
Who knocked out Tony Romo, that guy?
Right, that guy Hicks,
cheap shot at Tony Romo, that guy?
10 tackles.
Every time we talk about him, he has 10 tackles.
I'm just saying, he's showing
he's
up.
come from nowhere,
He's come from nowhere, and he's producing. And so when I'm looking at these guys right now, Maxwell is playing a little bit better. Is he getting abused by receivers the way they did? We got on him when he looked sorry, when he looked like there was a reason Seattle was willing to let him get away. But now he looks like he's living up, at least to some degree, to that money he was getting paid. So let's take a moment to give him the respect that Byron Maxwell is due. He's showing up and he's producing right now. And I give him credit for that. I'm just looking at them along the way, and I'm saying to myself, if the defense can maintain any level of consistency, they have a chance to win this division. And that's not something we saw a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. I agree with you, especially the front 7 attacked Eli in ways I didn't think they were going to be able to attack Eli. So my takeaway is, again, your offensive line is pretty pathetic. The Giants' defense is pretty pathetic. All things considered, even though there is a piece here or there.
You got the worst secondary in the NFL. I mean, you could throw all day on them.
And without JPP, obviously, they have little to no pass rush. So, again, I think we're going to overrate anything we say good about the Eagles because I think the Giants made them look better than they probably are.
Okay, that's possible.
Good. Let's move on from that subject. The Eagles and Giants are now both 3-3. So the Cowboys are a half game behind them at 2-3, and the Redskins are just 1 game back. Now, according to the Football Power Index, the Eagles are the favorites to win the NFC at almost 65%, followed by the Cowboys at just under 19%. Skip, Has Philly now taken control of the NFC East?
Absolutely not. And again, I'm coming at it from the Cowboys' perspective. That was a huge night last night for the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, the Giants don't separate. I'm not impressed with either team. And Dallas got to put one more game in the bank because Dallas is only treading water, obviously, trying to stay afloat until A, Des Bryant gets healthy, which could happen sooner than later, and B, Tony Romo gets healthy, which is November 22nd at Miami. So I look at the Cowboys schedule. They obviously this Sunday go visit those Giants who suddenly look a little more invincible than they looked invincible going in. So all of a sudden, I'm thinking I might have a shot on Sunday at the Giants because my team, the Cowboys, plays better on the road. Matt Castle is the new quarterback. Jerry Jones obviously is now driving his bandwagon after he drove Brandon Whedon's, and Jerry Jones is saying, look, Matt, I'm paraphrasing, but Jerry Jones is saying Matt Castle is a veteran who has had experience stepping into the pocket, stepping up in the pocket, and stepping into throws and taking some chances that Brandon Whedon would never take. I'm on board with Jerry there. I think Matt Castle will be way better than Brandon Whedon was. Just stay off the Whedon is my new motto for this show. Okay, so I was wrong about Brandon Whedon, and maybe I'm overreacting to what Matt Castle can do, but he will give my team a little, if not a lot better chance of winning at the Giants. Then my team comes home for Seattle and the Eagles. Well, Seattle looks a little more invincible than invincible at this point. And the Eagles, as I just told you, I'm not sold on because of Sam Bradford. So I'm looking at these games as, hey, maybe if my Cowboys could now win a couple and put them in the bank, and as Dez gets healthy, I don't know when he's going to come back, but obviously Cowboys are going to come off a bye. Obviously, Randy Gregory, the kid, the stud rusher coming off the edge, is probably going to be healthy. I'm hoping for the Giants. And we saw what all of a sudden Greg Hardy, Rolando McClain could do for that defense against Tom Brady in the first half. So I'm saying if my team had been healthy from the start, they would have run away with this division. That's how much better Dallas is when healthy than the Eagles, Giants, or Redskins. Way better. That's why I picked them this year to go to the Super Bowl. So I still like my pick. I don't love my team's chances because obviously if you take the quarterback and the best receiver in football away, it's going to be an issue. Well, how quickly will they come back? If they come back full speed and healthy and stay healthy, you're in trouble.
Well, forgive me, I'm confused because I understand where you're coming from when you talk about what the Cowboys will do if they're healthy, but they're not healthy as of yet. And yet you highlight how the Eagles, even though they haven't been that impressive, because of the Dallas Cowboys injuries, the division is up for grabs. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what is it that you're saying. Based on the Cowboys and how they look with their injuries, are you saying that they're not going to do anything if Tony Romo and Des Bryant?
I'm saying off what I saw last night, even without Des or without Romo, I like my chances way more at Giants and against Eagles at Jerry World than I did before last night's game. Last night's game showed me next to nothing about either of these teams.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Well, my opinion is that I think you're drinking entirely too much Diet Mountain Dew because whether it's I love Diet Dew. I love Mountain Dew. But whether it's Whedon or Matt Castle, in the end, what it comes down to is a Dallas Cowboys offense that, dare I say, is expected to be anemic at the very, very least. And if they can't score, that is a problem for them no matter who they're playing against. Because even though their defense is something to be reckoned with, even though they got shredded by the New England Patriots, it could have been much worse. I saw Hardy and Rolando McClain and those boys getting at Tom Brady. So I'm imagining what they're going to do to their NFC East foes.
They got Brady 5 sacks in the first half, right?
The first half. So trust you me, I know that the Dallas Cowboys defense can wreak some havoc, assuming that those guys stay on the squad and they are healthy. My issue with them, however, is still going to be on the offensive side of the ball. Regardless of how horrific the New York Giants looked last night, I think that's an aberration. I think you can look at them and you can say they're going to be better than that performance, particularly when the Eagles come to MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. I think that you look at the Redskins, regardless of their record, the fact that they play hard, that they will put a hat on you, that they can play tough and run the football, although Kirk Cousins could ultimately get you in trouble, and I think he could ultimately get Jay Gruden fired. Yeah. That's a subject we need to visit at some point in time in the near future.
I think you just did.
I'm just telling you right now. I just think it's something to think about. I still believe that the Redskins can be competitive and they can knock off a 4 or 2 within the division, okay?
I'm with you.
Then when we look at the Philadelphia Eagles, certainly there's some questions about their offense, but with their defense playing better, you've got to believe that a Darren Sproles, for example, along with either a Matthews or a Murray, can do some things for you. The problem that I have with the Eagles, Skip, is that I watched Sam Bradford last night target 8 different receivers. Not a single receiver had more than 3 receptions. Here's my belief. I believe that when money time arrives, you got to have somebody up in there that you're able to say, here's the ball. Take us to the promised land. I don't see the Philadelphia Eagles having that. So I don't blame you.
Aguilar wasn't.
And Aguilar wasn't there, but
I don't think it's a
I'm just saying it's a defensive like Jordan Matthews. I think it's premature. I think he will be that, but I think Jordan Matthews has regressed a little bit this year. I don't know if that's his fault, because it can't be everybody's fault. It can't be DeMarco Murray's fault and Sam Bradford's fault and Jordan Matthews' fault, but not Chip Kelly's fault. He's got something to do with what's going on in terms of the level of regression that is kicked in on the offensive side of the ball. But in the end, I think when we talk about the Cowboys and the NFC East, the Dallas Cowboys, to me, are a non-subject without Tony Romo and Des Bryant back in that lineup.
Okay, well, we know. Okay, so to finish that, Romo won't be back until November 22nd for a fact. He can't come back until then. So are you saying the Cowboys are done? That's a lot of games. That's 1, 2, 3,
they still
4.
Have
That's
8.
Four more to go before he can play.
4 more to go?
Yeah, because they got Giants, Seahawks, Eagles, and at Tampa Bay.
Oh, I could see Cowboys in trouble. But I'm not willing to say they're done, because I can see the rest of the teams in the division beating each other. And whereas the Dallas Cowboys, I can see the Dallas Cowboys 3-6. After week 9, I can see the others being 4-5. You know what I mean?
Okay, well,
so that would only be good for me. That would only be like a game.
Take it.
That would only be like a game. So I can't say they're finished, because I don't think anybody else is going to pull away by leaps and bounds. Like the Steelers have to win practically every game because the Bengals are running away with the division. That's nobody in the NFC East that's going to do that. So because of that, I would have to say you're right there. I wouldn't say that the Dallas Cowboys are done, because I don't think anybody else is going to pull away. But I still believe that at 3-6, they could be in some trouble, and I think that's exactly what's going to end up happening to them, because I don't think Matt Castle's going to win more than 1 game for them.
Okay, so back to Molly's question. Our FBI says the Eagles are runaway favorites to win the East.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that.
They're not in control.
I think the Giants and the Eagles are going to be like this for the rest of the season, and the only team with the potential to run away is Dallas if Romo comes back healthy and ready to go, because I think they're the only team with Romo and Dez back in the lineup together, with Hardy and those boys on the defensive side of the ball, not having to worry about facing Tom Brady. I believe that the Dallas Cowboys could potentially run away with the division. I do believe they believe they could potentially run away with the division. Listen, I picked the Eagles to win this division at the beginning of the season.
You did?
I can't believe how their offenses looked. I mean, their defense is a pleasant surprise, but I can't believe how boy genius himself, Chip Kelly, has this offense looking. They're so sporadic. They're so inconsistent. They're so sloppy on so many levels. It's hard watching them based on what you anticipated they were going to bring to the table.
It keeps coming back to the quarterback's ability to play consistent football. I think they were better with Nick Foles than Sam.
We agree there. I do believe they were better with Nick Foles, but I'm not just looking at the quarterback, because I'm seeing Sproles not being used effectively. I'm seeing DeMarco Murray and Ryan Matthews not being used effectively. I'm seeing Jordan Matthews having regressed to some degree. Everything can't be the player's fault. Certainly, they deserve some level of culpability, but I can't put those myriad of issues at the hands of just the players when the coach is supposed to be some offensive genius inserted into the NFL to revolutionize the sport. I can't do it.
Last couple of quick points. Jordan Matthews from Vanderbilt University is a great kid who has a lot of talent.
I agree.
Remember the big drop in the opener at Atlanta? It was late, and it went right through his hands for an interception. Bradford actually threw a good ball. I'm not sure Jordan has quite recovered from that when you talk about his regression. So I thought he was going to emerge as their number 1 receiver, and I don't know if he has. Then a quick thought about DeMarco. He did have his best night by far as an Eagle, but remember, The Giants were just battered and worn down at the end, and he got 21 yards on his last and 22nd carry. That got him up to 109. So I'm not going to do handsprings over, oh, wow, they've rediscovered their running game with DeMarco Murray. Let's hold the phone on that.
They have a tough test this week, too. Sunday Night Football at Carolina.
Not easy. That would
Sam
be,
Bradford against that Panthers defense.
that could be another big win for my Cowboys. Go, Cam, go.
Oh, gosh. It's always about the Cowboys. All right, moving on, guys. More details have unfolded in the Louisville and